Hello, everyone. Dr. Eames here. This time I'd like to talk to you about communism. We've talked about a variety of different approaches to economic market systems, free market capitalism, socialism, and so forth. Um, and this time I'd just like to make a few remarks on this one. Now, like it says here, communism is an economic and political system which the government makes almost all economic decisions, owns almost all factors of production. Um, that's really cutting it finer than we need to. Generally, communism is an authoritarian government, and it's not almost all, it is all. They own everything and they will dictate. If they don't own it, they will tell you what you will do with it and how you will perform. And like it says here, this is a very inefficient sort of economy. Um, Prices don't reflect demand. Now, the things that we've talked about with free market demand, the market price is determined by supply and demand, and where those curves intersect at the equilibrium point gives us the general idea of what's the best price to sell something at. Um, in a communist economy, prices have nothing to do with demand whatsoever. And so, because it's the companies themselves, the workers and the leaders alike, often have little incentive to work hard, to improve things, and so forth, you do get shortages. And in particular, you can get shortages of key items in the society, including, like it says here, food and clothing. And it is true that today, the communist countries are not just doing that well. They are all suffering some form of economic depression. So, because communism doesn't inspire business people to work hard, um, it is slowly disappearing as an alternative economic form. And just think about that for a moment. Here's our examples of the five communist countries in the world today that do have, except for maybe North Korea and Cuba, have some economic clout. Cuba's often been called a socialist country, but make no mistake, it has an authoritarian government. It's definitely a communist nation. And notice the words democratic in the name of China's official name for a country and North Korea. North Korea, the Democratic People's Republic. China, the People's Republic of China. In Laos, Lao People's Democratic Republic. For some reason, communist countries have often done this over time. They've stuck that word democratic or republic in there to really give the impression that people don't really know what's going on. We see Vietnam here listed as a socialist republic. Um, it's just a matter of labeling and degrees, really. There's no doubt they're a communist country because the government does dictate to the businesses they have what is going to be produced and what's going to be sold. What's interesting is with the current trade war and all the problems that our country has currently with China on the trade front and all those disagreements that, whether you agree with how they happened or not, they are there and we're dealing with them. Vietnam has assumed quite a prominence, taking over many of the supply line connections, being the middleman for many things that used to happen in China. So really, we have to say that if you look at these countries, they're not all doing that well. Um, Except for possibly Vietnam. And of course, China has got some real troubles right now. Still one of the largest economies in the world, but still a developing economy. So what we look to in the future is that Vietnam will be a real powerhouse at some point, and they're headed there now. Laos, I don't know as much about, but I think they're very similar to Vietnam. They're well poised with a number of companies and a good labor supply and so forth. Of course, North Korea has nothing going for itself. It has almost zero natural resources and a problematic government. And of course, Cuba, until recent overtures from the US government, has been a very closed society. They have, at one time before their communist revolution and all of that, they were the commerce center of Latin America, with Havana, the number one port, so forth. So you can really see that maybe that sort of a government choice hasn't worked out well for them. Okay, folks, that's really all I want to talk about this time. I'll talk to you again soon.